I just caught my boss doing the most unethical thing you could probably do. And the worst part about this whole situation is I was a witness to it, and his wife is the CFO of the company. So and my first thought was, you know what? I should just go straight to her and tell her what I saw because I don't want to be in the middle of this. But here's the part that is the worst situation. What I saw was my boss having an affair with my best friend who I just got the job there for. Yeah, I know, it's a horrible situation to be in, but you know what? It wasn't my decision to do it. I'm not the one who made the choice, so why would I sit here and be stuck in the middle of this and potentially lose my career? Something that I've built for 10 years. No, I'm going to tell her. I work as a marketing coordinator at a mid-sized company. It's not glamorous by any means, but it pays the bills, up until recently. You know, I actually like my job. I report directly to Derek, who's been my manager for about 3 years. He's always been professional with me. Always, maybe a little too friendly sometimes, but nothing that ever felt inappropriate toward me specifically. His wife Noelle is the CFO of our company, and let me tell you, that woman is terrifying in the best and worst ways possible. She's brilliant, she's strict, and she has this ice-cold demeanor that makes grown men in finance literally avoid making eye contact with her in the hallway. Everybody respects her, but everyone also fears her. Now, my best friend Marissa. We've been close since college. She's been unemployed for months, struggling really hard, sending out hundreds of applications and getting nowhere. I felt awful watching her go through that, so when a position opened up in our department a few months ago, I pushed hard to get her resume in front of Derek. I vouched for her. I told him that she was reliable, hardworking, and talented, and he hired her. She started about 2 months ago, and I was so happy for her. She was finally stable again, finally had income, finally had hope. But from literally day one, something felt off. Derek was overly friendly with her. Not in the way that he was with me or the other team members, this was different. He would stop by her desk constantly, laugh a little too loud at her jokes, and offer to help her with things that she didn't need any help with. I noticed it, but I didn't think much of it at first. I figured he was just being welcoming to the new hire. Marissa would lean on me a lot, both socially and professionally, asking me questions about the culture, about Derek, about how to navigate office politics. I was happy to help. She was my best friend, of course I wanted her to succeed. Then the company announced this mandatory out-of-state leadership conference. 3 days, all management and coordinators required to attend. I was not thrilled about it. I hate these corporate bonding things, but it was mandatory, so whatever. Marissa immediately starts panicking about the cost. You know, even though the company covered the conference itself, she was worried about incidentals, meals, all of it. She begged me to share a hotel room with her to save money on her end. I didn't really want to, honestly. I value my alone time on these trips. But she was my best friend and she has just gotten back on her feet, so I agreed. The first night of the conference, Derek scheduled mandatory team drinks. He sent an email with the subject line, "Attendance required even if you don't drink," and picked this loud, expensive bar near the hotel. The whole thing felt forced and performative, but again, mandatory. So we all show up. And that's when I really started to notice how weird things were between Derek and Marissa. He bought her drink after drink, way more than he bought for anyone else. He kept toasting to her potential, to her future with the company, saying things about how glad he was that she joined the team. Marissa was blushing in this way I've never seen her do before. Giggling, touching his arm when she laughed, leaning in close when he talked. It made me uncomfortable, but I tried to brush it off. Maybe she was just tipsy. Maybe she was trying too hard to impress the boss. Keely, one of my coworkers who I'm friendly with but not super close to, pulled me aside at one point and said something like, "You know, they look way too comfortable with each other, right?" I laughed it off. I told her she's being melodramatic, that Marissa was just trying to fit in, and Derek was just being welcoming. But Keely gave me this look, this knowing, pitying look, and walked away. As the group started to disperse, I saw Derek and Marissa whispering to each other near the bar. Their heads were close together, and she was smiling in this secretive way. I felt this weird twist in my stomach, but I was too tired and, I was a little buzzed myself. So I went back to the hotel room and got ready for bed. Marissa did not come back for 2 hours. I was already asleep when I heard the door creak open. I was groggy. I checked my phone. It was 3 a.m. She stumbled in looking disheveled, her hair messed up, her dress wrinkled. I said, "Where have you been?" She said that she went for a walk to clear her head. Oh, a walk, huh? For 3 hours in a city neither of us knew. I didn't believe her, but I was too tired to push, so I just rolled over and went back to sleep. The next day during the conference session, I could not stop noticing the way Derek and Marissa were looking at each other. These long, lingering stares across the room during presentations. Little smiles. It was like they had this secret language nobody else was supposed to understand. Miles, another coworker, came up to me during a break and asked if I knew what was going on between them. I immediately get defensive. I told him I didn't know what he was talking about, that he was imagining things, and I felt protective of Marissa. She was my best friend, and I didn't want people gossiping about her. That night, after the session ended, I realized I left my bag in one of the conference rooms. So I tell Marissa I would be right back and went to grab it. On my way back through the hotel, I passed by the stairwell and heard noises. Not normal noises, I didn't even know what made up of, the noise until I opened the door. Curiosity got the best of me, instinct, stupidity. I don't know. There they were, Derek and Marissa kissing. Not like a little peck, not like something that could be explained away. They were pressed against the wall, his hands on her hair, her hands on his chest, full-on kissing like teenagers at the movie theaters in the back room. I must have made a sound because they both jumped apart like they've been electrocuted. Derek's face went from passion to absolute horror in a split second. Marissa looked like she wanted to disappear into the wall. I just stood there frozen, my brain trying to process what I saw. Derek immediately grabs my arm and pulls me away from the stairwell into an empty hallway. He started begging me not to tell anyone. He was frantic, speaking in this low, urgent whisper about how his marriage was complicated, how this just happened, how it wasn't planned. Marissa followed us, and she was pleading too, saying she was finally happy for once in her life, that she deserved this, that I had to understand. I couldn't speak. I literally could not form a word. I felt like I was living a nightmare. Then Derek said something that made my blood run cold. It was bad, it really was. He said Noelle was flying in tomorrow morning for a surprise audit. He just found out earlier that day. He said we all had to be really careful because of this, if it gets out, it would not just be him who suffered. He looked directly at me when he said that. The implication was clear. My career would suffer if this got out, if I told anyone. Marissa grabs my hand and begged me to protect her. She said she could not lose this job. She would just have nothing else to do. She needed this. I had to understand. I had to keep quiet. I felt trapped. I really did. Completely and utterly trapped. I went back to the room that night and barely slept. My mind was racing. On one hand, this was my bestie, and she was begging me for help. But on the other hand, Derek was married to the CFO, the most powerful and feared woman in all of the land. And they were having an affair that I knew about, and I didn't ask to be in this position. I didn't want to be in this position. The next morning, I submitted my travel expense report for the conference. It was routine, just meals and incidentals. So Derek was supposed to approve it within a few days. He didn't. He just conveniently forgot, I guess. Marissa starts acting even more desperate around me. She told me that if this affair ever gets exposed, she didn't know what she would do. She said that she might harm herself. She actually said those words to me, and I didn't know if she meant it or if she was manipulating me, but either way it worked, and I stayed quiet. Noelle, she shows up that morning completely unannounced. She walked into our conference session with this terrifying calm energy and said she was conducting a surprise mini audit of the team's expenses and professional conduct during the trip. Professional conduct? My heart dropped into my stomach, and I avoided looking at Derek or Marissa, but I could feel the panic radiating off of both of them. Noelle asked pointed, specific questions about how the team had been conducting themselves, whether anything professional had occurred, whether anybody had concerns about behavior. I sat there feeling like I was going to throw up. Derek would not make eye contact with me at all, and Marissa, on the other hand, kept trying to sit near me, touch my arm, acting overly attentive, like we were the closest friends on planet Earth. After the meeting, Noelle asked me to stay behind. Everybody else filed out of the room. I genuinely thought the gig was up. I'm gonna pass out. She stood there, arms crossed, and asked me directly if I noticed any strange behavior during the trip, and I stayed vague. I said everything seemed normal, people were tired, typical conference stuff, and she asked me specifically if I saw Derek anywhere he shouldn't have been. I lied, okay? I lied. I said no. Marissa's words about harming herself were echoing in my head, and Derek's threats about my career were right there too. I just said no. Noelle looked at me for a long moment, and I could tell she didn't believe me. She reads me like a book. But she let me go. I thought maybe if I just stayed quiet and kept my head down, this would all blow over. I was so wrong. That afternoon, I was walking past the hotel manager's office, and I overheard Noelle on the phone. She was ordering security footage from the hotel, and she wanted footage from the stairwells, the hallways, the lobbies, everything from the past 2 days. My stomach dropped. I kept walking like I had not heard anything, but I felt like I was going to be sick. Later that evening, Derek found me alone near the hotel bar. He put me, his little hand on my shoulder and thanked me for being a team player. Those exact words, a team player, like I've done him some kind of favor instead of being forced into an impossible situation. The phrase made my skin crawl, but I just nodded and walked away. Marissa actually celebrated with me that night back in our room. She opened a mini bottle of wine from the minibar and said we survived a war. She was giddy, relieved, acting like everything was hunky-dory, and I realized in that moment that I was the only one who actually risked a thing. Derek had his managerial power to protect him, Marissa had me protecting her, and I had nothing. I had no leverage, no protection, no safety net. I was just collateral damage waiting to happen. We got back to the office the following week, and everything gets worse. Derek started nitpicking my work in ways he's never done before. Projects I've completed successfully were suddenly not good enough. Reports I've written were suddenly unclear. He rewrote my entire performance metrics to be strict, adding benchmarks I've never been held to before. I knew what he was doing. He was setting me up as a scapegoat in case everything went to hell. Marissa asked me not to confront him about it. She said that she was under so much stress from the marriage, that I needed to be understanding, and that's when I started to realize Marissa wasn't actually my friend. Not anymore. She was using me. She's been using me this entirety of the time, and I've been too loyal and stupid to even see it. Wow. Keely quietly pulled me aside one day and just told me that she's seen Derek and Marissa leaving the office together late at night. Just the two of them. Getting into the same car, and she didn't say anything, but the look on her face, she felt sorry for me. Well, then Derek called me into a meeting. Just him and me, and he told me I dropped the ball on a major project. A project I'd actually completed on time and under budget. He had this printout of supposed errors and missed deadlines, and I knew. I just knew. I knew he fabricated it or twisted the facts, but I couldn't prove it in the moment I left that meeting shaking. Marissa started pulling away from me after that. She said she needed to distance herself from the party drama to protect her own role. Party drama, like that's what this was. Not an affair, not a massive ethical violation, it's just party drama. I felt completely betrayed. Then I get an email, Sean, HR, subject line, preliminary ethics conversation. No details, just an invitation to meet the following Monday. Well, I read that email 50 times trying to figure out what it meant, and every time my anxiety got worse. I need to get this out before I completely lose it because I don't recognize my own life anymore. Update number 1. The ethics conversation happened, and it was so much worse than I imagined. See, Sean, he didn't really start to waste any time. No. He told me Noelle had found charges on the company credit card for a luxury suite at the conference hotel. Not just any charges, per se. A multi-$100 suite from one night. It was booked under Derek's name, but paid for with the team travel card. The team travel card that I had access to as a coordinator. Sean pulled up the financial logs on his computer and showed me. My user ID had approved the transaction. My ID? I felt like the floor had dropped out from under me. I told him I didn't book that room, that I didn't approve the charge, that I would never do that. He just looked at me with this skeptical expression and said that he would be investigating further. I realized what had happened almost immediately. During the conference, I left my laptop unattended in the conference room multiple times. Derek had my login information because I shared it with him months ago for a project. He could have used my credentials to book it. Or Marissa would have used my laptop when I wasn't looking. She's been on my laptop several times that night to check her email because her battery was going out. But I couldn't prove any of it. I just looked guilty. Sean told me he's been informed by Derek that I struggled with boundaries, that I had a tendency to get overly involved in personal matters that didn't concern me. I was standing outside Sean's office after the meeting when I heard Derek inside, talking to Sean, and that's what he said. That I struggled with boundaries like I was the issue. Oh, like I was some unstable employee who couldn't be trusted. I felt physically ill. I went to the bathroom and threw up. Marissa called me that night, panicking. She clearly talked to Derek, and now she was freaking out because Noelle was demanding formal statements from everybody on the team. Marissa begged me to just take a suspension with her, just agree to some kind of disciplinary action so we could move forward with this. She said it would blow over faster if we both took responsibility. I told her no, I'm done. I was done protecting her, done protecting Derek, done sacrificing myself for people who were actively harming me. She started crying and said I was abandoning her, that I was a terrible friend and that she needed me. So I hung up on her. Miles found me in the break room the next day and quietly suggested I pull my electronic log to prove I didn't make those charges. He said there would be an IP address, timestamps, location data, things that could show where the transaction actually came from, so I could have hugged him. I immediately requested my activity logs from IT. That's when I found out Marissa used my laptop 4 times during the conference. The timestamps matched up when I've been in a session or talking to other people. She had full access. Derek called a secret meeting that Friday. Just him, Marissa, and me in the conference room. After hours, of course. He tried to tell us we needed a unified story. He wanted all 3 of us to say the suite was booked for group brainstorming, that it was team expensive, that there was nothing inappropriate about it. But I refused. I told him I wasn't lying anymore. His entire face changed. The friendly manager persona dropped, and I saw something cold and angry underneath. He told me I was making a huge mistake. Marissa broke down crying. She said if Derek got fired, she would be financially ruined. She would lose her apartment, her car, everything. She needed him to stay in his position because he was the only one protecting her job. The one who, well, even wanted her there. And that's when I realized this was not just an affair. She was completely dependent on him, maybe financially, maybe emotionally, maybe both. I told them both that I was done and I left. Derek sent me an email that weekend. It was vague, but it was threatening. Something about how I should reconsider my position before the formal investigation began, how it would be unfortunate if my career suffered due to poor judgment, but obviously, I didn't respond. Final update. HR scheduled an emergency meeting for that Friday. All 3 of us, me, Derek, and Marissa. I walked in feeling exhausted and defeated, like I'd already lost even though the meeting had not started yet. Sean was there along with another HR rep I didn't recognize. Noelle was there too, standing in the corner with her arms crossed. Preston, the CEO, was sitting at the head of the table. I've never even been in the same room as Preston before. This was bad. Bad. Sean started to go through the timeline, the charges, the evidence they've collected, and then Marissa interrupted him. She announced that she was pregnant. The room went completely silent. Pregnant? How so? And that she needed everyone to know because it affected what she was about to say. Then she looked directly at me and said that I helped hide the affair because we were best friends. That I've known from the beginning and had actively covered for her and Derek. That I've helped him coordinate their meeting. I couldn't breathe. Derek put his hands to his face and said Marissa was unstable, that she was not thinking clearly, that he had no idea what she was talking about. He said it like he was shocked, like he was the victim. Sean looked at me with this expression of absolute horror and confusion, like he couldn't believe what he was hearing. Then Noelle moved. She walked to the front of the room and pulled up her laptop. She's gotten the hotel footage. She played it for everybody in the room. Marissa, Entering the luxury suite at 11 p.m., Derek already inside waiting for her, footage of them in the stairwell that night I walked in on them, and footage of Marissa using my laptop in the conference room while I was out of the room. Noelle starts screaming at Derek, not crying, she was screaming. She said that he destroyed the company, destroyed their marriage, destroyed everything they've built. Preston tried to calm her down, but she turned on him too. Said he had enabled this culture by letting Derek get away with everything for years. It was chaos, complete, utter chaos. Marissa tried to blame me again, but Noelle cut her off and showed more footage. Footage of Marissa and Derek meeting in parking lots and coffee shops near the office, all over the city for weeks before the conference. This had been going on way longer than I realized. Derek did not admit to anything, but he couldn't deny the video evidence. He just sat there silent, his face red, and Sean suspended all three of us pending a full investigation effective immediately. We had to leave the building right then and there. By Monday, everybody in the office knew. The rumors, it spread like wildfire at this point, and people were taking sides. Some people thought that I was complicit. Some people thought I was a victim. Some people thought that I should have reported it sooner. The company became a complete circus. People were arguing in the hallways and Slack channels, I mean everywhere. And Keely sent me a text apologizing for ever doubting me. It was kind, but it didn't help. Noelle, she filed for divorce, publicly. She made an announcement in all staff emails that she was separating from Derek due to irreconcilable ethical breaches, and that her personal situation would not affect her role as CFO. It was the coldest, most brutal email I've ever read. Preston had an emergency all-hands meeting. He said ethics violations had compromised entire departments and that there would be terminations. Plural. He didn't say who, but everybody knew. HR fired Derek the following week for misuse of company funds and inappropriate workplace conduct. HR fired Marissa for involvement in the affair, deception, and violating multiple company policies. And then HR fired me too. Not because I was guilty, not because I've done anything wrong, but because the company wanted to clean the house. They wanted everyone, even remotely associated with the scandal, gone. They said my judgment had been compromised by personal relationships and that I failed to report misconduct in a timely manner. They gave me 2 weeks severance and told me I had to sign an NDA if I wanted the money. I lost my job. I lost my best friend. Not that she was ever really my friend, obviously, and I lost my manager, my professional reputation, and any chance of a reference from this company. I'm applying to new jobs, but every interview ends the same way. They ask why I left my last position, and I don't know how to explain this without sounding guilty or naive or stupid. I walked into the stairwell at the wrong moment, and my entire life fell apart. I tried to protect people who were willing to destroy me to save themselves, and now I have nothing. I don't know what the moral of the story is. Don't be loyal, don't trust anyone, report everything immediately even when it puts you at risk. I just know I'm sitting here in the morning writing this because I can't go to sleep. I have no idea how to move forward. The whole company collapsed into accusations and chaos, and I'm the one left with nothing. So guys, am I the a-hole for refusing to lie? I genuinely don't even know anymore. Guys, what would you have done? Would you have gone straight to the CFO and said your husband is having an affair the moment you found out? Or would you have tried to be a good friend and not do that because it's your best friend that's on the hook? I would love to know your thoughts. Drop it down below. Let's review a comment. Maybe two. The first comment says, honestly, I'm probably going to get hated for this, but I think you're leaving after this the wrong way. I mean, a huge part of this story is left out, and you know it. You saw them kissing in the stairwell, and you said nothing to HR. Nothing to the wife who had every right to know her husband was a dirty cheater. And nothing to anyone in position of authority who could have stopped the train wreck before it destroyed the entire company. He had a moral and professional obligation the second you witnessed that affair to report it, and instead you protected them for days, weeks. While Noelle was flying in completely oblivious, her marriage was imploding. You say you felt trapped, but you weren't trapped. You made a choice to prioritize your friendship and your comfort over doing the right thing. And now you're acting like you're the victim when you were literally complicit in covering up fraud and misconduct. I don't feel sorry for you. The company did not fire you because they wanted to clean house, as you said it. No, they fired you because you demonstrated catastrophically poor judgment and actively participated in a cover-up. Even if you didn't book the room yourself. You let your bestie manipulate you, let your boss intimidate you, and you failed every single ethics test put in front of you when you could have got the upper hand and told the CFO, which is way more powerful than your boss. Yeah, it sucks that you lost your job and probably your apartment, but maybe if you would grow a spine and report what you saw when you saw it, you would still be employed and Noelle would not have been humiliated in front of her entire company. Actions have consequences, and your actions were silence. Silence is complicit. You're not the hero of the story. You're not the victim. You're just another person who knew something was wrong and you did nothing until it was too late. Guys, I want to hear your opinion on that. Like I asked before, do you think it was the right choice to keep the secret? Comment 2 seems to agree with OP. Oh my gosh. I'm so angry on your behalf I could scream because this is absolutely not your fault, and everyone villainizing you in these comments has clearly never been in an impossible situation where your career, your friendship, and your entire livelihood are being held hostage by people with more power than you. You were put in a position no entry-level coordinator should ever be in. You accidentally witnessed something, and then your manager, the person who cuts your paycheck, your performance reviews, your future, and your best friend, somebody you trusted completely, both immediately ganged up on you and begged you to stay silent, or they were making these veiled threats about your career. People saying you should have reported it immediately have absolutely no idea what it's like to be a young employee with zero power facing down a manager who can destroy your reputation and blacklist you. Well, from the industry, if things go sideways, you were scared, you were manipulated, and you were used by two people who saw you as convenient scapegoats from the very beginning. The fact that Derek, used your login to book that suite proves he was setting you up to take the fall from the get-go. And, you even knew that was happening. And Marissa using your laptop shows that she was in on it too. They were not your friends. They were predators who saw an opportunity and took it. And the company firing you was the final act of betrayal because they needed someone to blame. And you were the easiest targets. You did not enable the affair. You didn't book the room. You didn't lie to investigators. And you refused to go along with their cover-up plan even when they threatened you. That takes courage, and I'm sorry that the world punished you for it. Guys, let's talk about this one. Drop a comment down below, and if you're not subscribed to the channel yet, what are you waiting on? Hit that subscribe button for daily stories. I'll see you guys tomorrow, and of course remember, it's cool to be kind. Peace.